make a motion to approve the minutes.
I have a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, it's not a big deal.
Okay. Do we have any public comments? Public comments, we'll move on to agenda item A. Perryman request for approval of subdivision plats. I love the spelling of Perryman.
I didn't print that on there. Is that Todd Reese's spelling? I don't think.
No,
Mark.
somebody, they got it a little wrong, but it's okay.
It's in the ballpark.
So I've looked over the plat. It does meet the 4 lot minimum where you ain't got to pull with sidewalks. Before the meeting, we had a BZA meeting, so we had 30 minutes of idle time in between the BZA and the planning commission meeting. I noted 4 things that just housekeeping things that I would submit as a conditional approval. And Ryan, you can tell me, I think 3 of them you'll be perfectly fine with. The last one you may have to get with Mrs. John's on. The setback requirement on lot 4. Lot 4 is zone B2. The other 3 lots are zone R2 or R1. On lot 4, the side setback, if your adjoining parcel to each side or adjoining parcel in any direction is zone B2 and used as B2, there is no side setback. In the event that it's a residential use, which it is on both sides of you, one house is vacant, but it's still a house there. The way the regulation reads, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if it adjoins a residential used property, then you would have to maintain a 15-foot side setback, which you're just housekeeping. And I think the best way to do that would be to go ahead and have the plat redone and show the side setback line, and then put a plat note.
For which lots?
For lot 4.
Oh, okay.
But show the side setback line and just put a plat note that it's a 15-foot side setback if the parcel to the north or south or both are used as a residential use. In the event that either one of them properties ever became a B2 use, then that 15-foot side setback would disappear.
Reverts to 0.
Yeah, it would revert to 0 if the use was that. Of course, an approval would be subject to the rest of the signatures by the city.
So this can be residential.
The other comment that I had, and I was discussing this with them before the meeting, the barn splits a lot line, which I see the note on the plat that says the barn will be removed.
Right. Residents on
I've seen plats before where there was a note on the plat that said something's going to be removed and never got removed. Do you think yourself or Mrs. Johns would be okay with an approval contingent upon and subject to that the plat does not get recorded until the barn's gone?
That's an important point, because I was looking, this is the first time I've seen a request of this nature, and normally
I've seen it in the county.
that we would be, we'd be prohibited from passing a plat we knew was in error, because we have a
So I think-
principal structure on 2 different lots.
So I think a way around that would be a conditional approval that the barn be removed from the plat
Right.
altogether, not even shown, and that the plat not be signed and recorded by the city until someone with the city mark or any one of the guys drives out there. You know, it would be a conditional approval that once the barn is gone, then the plat would conform.
So would it have to come back through plan at that point?
No, we would pass it subject to that, but
Subject to.
you couldn't go record it until that's done. And then the only other thing I saw, and I was gonna ask you about this, because for a year, we beat this to death with a stick about any extension of a power line needing to be underground, whether it's primary or to a house on any new plats that come before the planning
That's
commission.
primaries actually are overhead there.
Yeah. So my question is, in the event that any new primary would need to be run on this property, would we require it to be underground because everything's already pre-existing overhead? And if we did, would that need to be noted on the plat?
I don't think it needs to be noted on the plat. I would strongly encourage us to, the requirements for underground utilities should be for new construction, more than likely in new areas where the whole thing is being run for the first
So
time.
for this,
'Cause I don't think
everything's
that's
already overhead.
Right,
Everything's
that's my
I thought we
argument.
had already done that. I thought we already.
We discussed it both ways.
Correct.
I don't know that we ever came up with a
I
definite
thought we
definition.
did come up with something to.
Well, here's the reason I'm asking, and Ryan,
I know he was here for most of the.
well, Ryan
meetings,
will
so-
appreciate this. We say if all the power lines are existing overhead, run with it. However, without the Duck River engineer giving us a plat showing how they're gonna do it, they may have to relocate an existing pole to a lot line or add a lift pole. I don't know if they will or not.
Right.
But in the event that the power's over here and your overhead service for the house, you have to be 125 foot from the house, Duck River may have to set a lift pole, between the existing power pole and the house. So is that considered new infrastructure or not? If it's related to the service on the house, I would say that it's not new infrastructure, but I could see how it's kind of a gray area with what we've discussed before. So I would think that everything around there is overhead on power. I think we're fine on power, but I did want to ask that question.
Does he know that you can't build a residential structure on 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you got it rezoned or
Right.
did something B2 with
Well, it
it.
is B2 is just commercial, right?
Yeah. It's in intermediate, kind of a light duty commercial.
Okay.
You can put a McDonald's there if you want to.
Chick-fil-A be better.
That'd be good.
So,
Whatever, I don't
I
care.
know.
with the conditional
With
approval,
you?
would you be okay with?
Yeah, I was just wanting to run through, make sure we're good. I go ahead, so, my plan would be to go ahead and close Miss John's,
Yeah.
if everybody's good with it.
Yeah.
Then I'll go ahead and tear the barn down, and then I'll be able to file the plat and then move on. Is that correct? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah.
It-
That's correct. With
as
those
long-
corrections,
Yeah,
yeah.
as long as we approve it that way. Now,
I don't think there's supposed to be any utility poles anywhere. I think that.
are you confident you can reach all 3 or 4 of your houses with existing
I
power
mean,
poles?
yeah, because they're fairly small lots, and obviously it's primary overhead. I would,
But here's a hypothetical question, and the reason I'm asking. Power poles out in rural areas, they can span up to 400 foot between power poles. If there's a power pole to the west of Mr. Perriman and a power pole to the east of Mr. Perriman, the power company is gonna wanna set a new primary pole in line with the existing overhead wires. I'm perfectly fine with that because it's already an overhead wire there, but it still is a new pole.
Right.
So where does that fall with what we've discussed in the past? I think it would be okay because he's not altering or changing the primary, they're just adding a pole to the pre-existing primary.
I think that's the argument that would win the day.
Okay, okay. So I think on the power we'll be fine.
Wait a minute, on the power now that's gonna
Yes.
come across there, what if they had to do a cable come down?
Guidewire.
Can he get he gotta go to that property owner to put another guidewire
if-
on their property?
If anything with the utility has to hit a neighbor, that would be up to him, that would be
Yeah, I'd have
his
to get an easement
responsibility.
from the
To get an
neighbors,
easement, yeah, that wouldn't,
Duck River's gonna make you get an easement if you look at another piece of property.
yeah, they're good. They got a lot of,
but if there's existing overhead power lines through the
Right.
property, they can set a new pole in line and not have to fool with an easement.
Correct.
And it's all already overhead.
it's on that side of the road as well already, so
It's on which side of the road?
it's on the same size as the lots.
Oh, okay, so you should be okay.
Yeah, hopefully we are.
But
Did you see anything else?
No, I did want to reaffirm, because we do have 2 uses
Yeah.
that are adjacent to the B2 lot that are residential. The zoning ordinance does call for side yard setbacks of 15.
15.
And I strongly agree that this plat shouldn't be signed until that building is removed, because we would be recording an instrument when we
Yep.
know something is in error, and I don't even think we can do that.
I've seen it done in the county and it's created, I saw one,
We don't want to do it here.
well, it was on a tract of land over 5 acres, so it did,
Well,
planning committee,
they didn't have
a
to-
surveyor showed it, barn to be removed, an easement went through it, never got removed. Now you got 2 homeowners feud. I think they're gonna work it out.
Oh,
But one of them called me and said, what do I do? And I said, well, you have the right to drive through the guy's barn, I reckon.
I
Right.
have one right now that has a fence that was like that, and it's even in the deed that the fence was supposed to be taken down within
Yeah,
X
and it
number,
wasn't, so,
and 7 years later, it's still there, and now it's being sold to somebody else, so we're having to deal with it.
So I would make a motion, to approve the final plat with 3 housekeeping corrections. Lot 4 needs to have the side setback shown as 15 foot with a notation that the side setback of 15 foot would go away in the event that the parcel to the north or the south were a B2 use. So as long as there's a residential use next to them, a 15-foot side setback would apply. Show the easement, or show the setback, but allow it to go away if an adjoining property owner uses it for B2. And subject to the existing barn shown on lot 2 and 3 to be removed from the plat and to be completely removed and approved by someone with the city before the city signs the plat for recording.
Okay,
That's a mouthful.
we have a motion. All right.
Do we need to make a motion?
Could you read that motion?
I don't want to read it.
We'll have to look that one up, right?
Jim, are we good on the power? Should we
Do we need
say
to make-
anything at all or no?
Well, I don't think we need to add anything because there's overhead there already. And then if we have this as our internal policy and how we're gonna handle this.
Or could we stipulate that if there is any new primary to be added to the existing system, that primary would need to be underground?
I think that just having that in the minutes would work, wouldn't it?
But we have no enforcement over it without, does it need to be noted on the plat, I guess is my question.
Yeah, again, I don't even know, based on what we adopted, even if new primary is included where it
Where it was already
where already it
existing. Yeah,
exists,
that's what
that
I
you
thought
would
we
have
addressed
to,
as well.
That's
we would
what
have the
I-
authority
So-
to make it underground.
Well, not underground to the house. We had discussed that if there is any new primary added to Duck River system to service any lot, so in this scenario, 3 of the lots may be serviced by an existing overhead pole, but what if there had to be an extension to get to lot 4 or lot 1? In that event, I think that to be consistent with what we passed, any new extension of the primary system by Duck River would need to be underground.
I think I would just let it
Or just leave it alone.
with what you have, and if
Okay.
it has to be done, then I think
Okay.
the
Yeah.
policy that's in effect would apply. So
Okay, so just the two housekeeping notes.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
So,
I have a motion and a second.
You can have a little fun.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Got ahead
Any
of myself.
opposition? Other business?
Yes,
All righty.
I have a question.
you go first.
The big pipe that's sitting in town, sewer pipe, so is it?
everybody wants to know where it's
it's
Yeah.
going to Hooters down there, right, and McDonald's on the left.
Hooters.
No, it's a pipe that's going to the sewer plant.
That might be Hooters too, but, I know it's going to the sewer plant, but how come it's not going down the road where it can be accessed? Why is it going across property?
There's already an existing sewer line. that's
Well, and I
gonna
know it might be a dumb question, but if I don't ask, I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna provide, basically 2 separate, collection systems for that area, so we'll be able to do about 3 times more than what we can right now.
Okay. And it's more feasible to go that way than it is to go down the road?
Yes.
But you're not tearing up driveways, you're not tearing up existing utilities.
Well,
And
I just
it's-
had somebody ask, and I felt like I needed to get an answer for them.
Yeah, it was designed that way for 2 or 3 different reasons, and be glad to talk to anybody that wants to come up here and go over that plan.
Okay, Isaac.
Okay, so the planning commission needs to discuss the availability of water and sewer for new developments, anything that's not already pending a preliminary approval. And we had, I think this would possibly take in, I don't know if a concept plan would be grandfathered in with what I'm about to say or not, but there is, the county has recognized a water shortage in the north end of the county, and any new development plats on the county level are going to be looked at with more scrutiny on their Hope's Corner system, which is more or less anything north of the Duck River.
At what point in the planning process is that scrutiny set in?
Tuesday last week.
Okay.
I've been discussing it for years, but and it was, there's no official vote, there's nothing, it's any development of property on a large scale by a developer.
What is
is gonna-
considered large scale?
If it has to go to the planning commission. So 2 lots, 20 lots. Any division of property is gonna be, instead of just automatically assuming you can divide property because there's a water line out front, the county has openly said that if they will have to run calculations on the line, they'll have to see how much flow is available in the line, how many people are already tapping into the Hope's Corner water tank, how much water can come up Verona Caney Road and Nashville Highway to replenish the water in the north end of the county. They haven't officially said no to anything at all. They just said that what used to be an easy administrative, call them on the phone, sign this plat, done, they're now going to look at every single plat based on the area, the line that's feeding it. And they're not saying they don't have the water to sell, they're just saying that the water that they have to sell could, in the future, run out. So,
Did they do the test on,
yes,
and do we know?
it's at this point not favorable, but I don't think there's enough data to openly say.
You're talking about
to say-
on the other side of
Yes.
the railroad?
Yes, so it's, the test they did, the county did not grant approval for what the developer asked them for. So with that in mind,
Which I think we expected that.
we did, but with that in mind, the city, I think, has openly in the past said we have X number of customers, we have X number of vacant pieces of property in the city, and we have X number of lots that we've already, as a board, approved on preliminary plats. A couple of hundred, I believe. Maybe more than that, maybe 300. So moving forward,
It's over, yeah.
if the county in the future has the option to say, sorry, Chapel Hill, we can't sell you any more water, the city's well and the cave together can support the city in a perfect scenario, but if we keep adding to the system, it may not be able to support the city. And we're kind of in the same boat on sewer as well. I think with what we've already promised out, there's not a ton of capacity or availability on the sewer side as well. How do we as a board need to handle that? Do we approve minor 2-lot subdivisions and nothing big, or do we treat everybody the same and just say we have to have more engineering and more data on our water and sewer system before any plats past Ryan's here is approved?
I can tell you what my recommendation will be to this board and the board, mayor and alderman, and that's that we do not consider any more subdivision of land until the construction is finished on the line on 31A that will provide the flow necessary so that we can be sure that we can buy water from the county when we need it. That would be my recommendation.
Would you want to get data when there's a minor improvement they're doing on Verona Caney Road that's already in the works that I think is going to be ahead of the 31A project that they say is going to help, but I think the 31A project will solve the problem as long as Lewisburg can sell enough water to the county to provide us. Should we just say until
How much more water did Lewisburg can furnish us? They told they back capped out. What I was told, now you might have been told different, y'all might have been told different.
I don't think there's a definite answer on that. I do know that there's water to sell. The permitting and whatnot, they're not using all the water they're capable of treating and selling. But if things keep going like they are, I think they'll reach that limit, which I think TDEC, Mark was saying that TDEC
They capped them out, didn't they?
in TDEC, I was told 2 things, that they have mentioned that, but they've also mentioned in lieu of building a second treatment facility in the county that it may be beneficial for everyone to just increase, improve, and work with the one treatment plant that is in the.
So if somebody brought us a 30 or 40 lot subdivision next week,
I don't think we could do anything with it. Based on what I have heard over the past week or
so,
two.
is that our decision, or is
I
that
think
the mayor board or the water board? Or?
I think it's the BOMA, but I think the BOMA would need a recommendation from this board, and I have a mixed opinion on it, because I'm not anti-growth at all. In fact, I probably would sway more the other way. I'm for growth, but I'm for smart growth. And if we don't have the utilities to sell, then I don't think it's wise to keep promising more, with the taps we've already got promised out, it's a 30 or 40% increase to the taps that are already online in Chapel Hill. Is that correct, Mark?
That's pretty accurate, and I think that realistically, we would be looking at probably an 18 to 24 month
Moratorium?
not a moratorium.
We're not going to use that
just-
word.
Well, moratorium means we're not gonna sell any more taps, but, you know, I don't see where we need to do that. You know, I think we need to hold our obligation as long as we can to the, you know, the existing lots of record that we have.
So Jason,
now.
if you have a raw piece of property up there behind your car wash, and that's a separate parcel of property, you'd be entitled to one water tap, one sewer tap for that pre-existing lot of record. But if you came in to divide it,
So if I came in to divide it,
I think
I'm just asking.
I think if we.
I'm supposed to have a meeting in the morning about it, so
Well,
I need to cancel my meeting.
Well, I think I don't know if it'd be pending legislation or not, but I think if we recommend this to the BOMA and the BOMA passes it, I think that the answer would be no, you can't, until we know that the water and sewer is there, I don't know that we can keep selling
And
it.
I think that's the thing, how do we know water and sewer is not there, and how do we know when we do have water and sewer available?
I think with the 30 to 35% increase in volume that'll be needed both on the water and the wastewater side, more so than what we have now, we're at our limit. My opinion, based on just
I
I
guess
think
we're,
that's pretty much what the board has discussed as well.
so where all of this gets gray to me though is, okay, say what if that development over here that we've just approved on Nashville Highway, the one that Huntley,
I think that was a concept plan. I don't know that the multifamily.
not the multifamily,
Yeah,
but the
I think
You're
subdivision.
talking about north of Stony Brook.
Yes, I think that's approved on the preliminary plat.
So what if they sit on that for 10 years?
Then I
So does
think
that
they're-
mean we're tying up
I think so.
that
It's promised.
availability?
It's promised before the next guy. Yes, ma'am.
As long
I
as
think-
he's vested in it, you know, if he loses his vesting rights, if the plat expires,
Well, how
then I
long?
think it goes away. It's depending on, it's a minimum of 3 years from when the plat was approved. That's what we were talking about before the meeting, when that was approved.
So do developers know that those plats expire? Because I
Yeah,
didn't.
they do. No, I'm involved in one right now in Murray County that expired, and the developer had to start. It
Okay.
expired in '09, and they had to start from
So
scratch.
if they've
It expires with the planning commission, is that what you're saying?
It just expires. It's no longer valid if, now, there's kind of a catch-22. If they start infrastructure,
That's
if they
what-
go out there and lay one stick of pipe, and I may be saying this wrong, but if they go out there and lay one stick of pipe, it's kind of like building a house. Your building permit's good for a year, but as long as you're building on it, it can administratively keep getting extended until you're done, as long as you started something. But if I bought a building permit today to build a house, did nothing for a year, it would just expire, and I'd have to start over.
So like my garage, I poured the concrete this year. So if I frame it this coming year, my.
If you have a permit.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I poured mine,
Yeah.
okay.
It could be up to the discretion of the building inspector, so
That's just interesting.
I don't want to answer any questions for the building inspector,
Yeah.
but that's, but I think it's the same way on the plant. If infrastructure has been started, if they laid the water lines, had a hiccup in the economy and they waited on the roads, I think they would be,
Well, I just
More
feel like
likely to be
that
extended.
ties us
It
up
does.
from the ability to do business
Yeah.
with people that are wanting to do business right now versus somebody and
But-
I'm pie in the sky, I'm big picture, but then we're tying it up for people that
But on
that may not be moving.
on the flip side of the coin, they are more vested than the brand new guy because they've already secured the property, they've already started infrastructure, if they, they've already.
Did we approve the plat for
We-
north of Stony Brook?
We approved the preliminary plat on the 92 lots, but what was only approved on a concept was the multifamily.
Right.
So
Oh, near the road.
the preliminary plat, I think we've promised them water and sewer. The concept plan, I don't think we have, because it was just conceptually, if they come back tomorrow with a preliminary, we have new data. We have new data now that we didn't have 3 months ago.
So does the city, is this sort of like season tickets for the Packers? I mean, you get on a list and you're okay, I'm the next development that gets water and sewer taps. Is that what we're getting to?
Is he paid for the taps?
No.
No, I'm saying,
That's
okay, the
another
next
thing,
person
too.
that comes in for 10 lots, 20 lots, 30, whatever it is. If
Is
we're
there
not,
gonna be a line?
if we're not, yeah, are we saying, okay, you're first in line to get taps? where do we go from here?
I don't know, I guess you put them on a waiting list, I don't know.
Well, I don't know where you go from here, but I think anyone who's already invested in something
Yeah.
like that should have the first option. That's
Yeah.
just my personal.
No, like Huntley, I mean, if he's
Yeah.
if he's got that, but where does the next person, let's just say, I mean, I'll use myself for example. I mean, we've been sitting on this thing down there behind the car wash for 2 years now, and it's, you know, it's our fault, nobody else's. But let's say okay, I want 30 taps. Okay, y'all say, well, we can't do it right now.
I
We're
think-
gonna put you on a waiting list.
I think
You're
it
on the
makes
first
sense.
one.
I think it makes sense that you'd be number one if I came in the next day.
I mean, I think we gotta fill out a form or
There's gotta be a
pay a
system.
fee or something, I mean,
I think it'd be easy enough to figure out, because I know the city of Fairview for 6 or 8 years had a moratorium on sewer. City of Mount Pleasant is still under a moratorium on sewer taps. I mean, there's several, Shelby County, is that Memphis?
yeah.
Shelby County, either Shelby or Hamilton, one of those two are currently on a sewer moratorium. And I don't remember if it's Shelby or Hamilton, but one of those two counties,
Hamilton's catch up moving.
Chattanooga, it's one of those two that's, in some areas are experiencing a moratorium on the sewer side. It's more common, this is a more common thing that I think cities deal with on sewer than it is water. We're in the unique situation where I think we're dealing with both at the same time. We're eclipsing, completely built out with what we've already promised out. We will eclipse our sewer permit, or come close.
But with
to
the
our
new
sewer.
sewer, with the new
That's the
sewer.
line, that's just a line, that's not the treatment facility.
Okay,
That's just the means of getting the wastewater
down there.
down there.
And, you know, once again, we're in the process of starting our permit process with the sewer and TDEC, you know, to apply for a larger permit to be able to discharge into the river. But, you know, that also will take quite a bit of time.
So until it's free, and this is, on the sewer side, it's the same thing we told the developer that came in over the railroad tracks, same thing we told him, we don't know what we have on the concept plan we looked at. That was more than we have capacity for, because it was, huge. But even on a small scale, sitting in on the meeting that the county water board had last week, there were several good points that were brought up. If you have one guy come in with 2 lots and another guy come in with 40 lots, how do you decide between the two? And I don't know that we can. I think we would have to come up with a policy. If we know we have 50 taps available, then we know that we can approve up to 50 building lots, but I don't know that we have 50 available, and until we may have that available, but until we do, I don't know that we should do anything at all. And I'm not anti-growth at all. I'm just saying I don't know that it's wise to keep going with 4 lots, 6 lots, 20 lots, and then when it's all built out, then we realize there's a big problem, whether it's on water, wastewater, or both.
We don't keep promising people we're gonna give them stuff when we can't do it.
That's what I'm trying to say.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And
trying
I
to say.
think we need to
We're
hold
not here
back some
for that.
of the resources if we were to get any kind of business.
Yeah. Well-
I'd hate for him to say, I'm gonna put a McDonald's down there, and we'd say, sorry,
Well, I
we
think-
can't
Most
furnish
people
you.
like McDonald's. You might need to get
Well,
a McDonald's.
and I think part of this is acknowledging and saying that any pre-existing parcel of land in the city is already owed something above and beyond a new division of property that comes in. So I agree with you on that, Mrs. Joyce, that if McDonald's came in to subdivide a piece of property, I think we'd have to treat them just like any developer. But if they're buying Mr. Milligan's 2-acre lot up there, it's already a legal lot of record on the plat, I think we have to sell them a water tap and sewer tap. So I think
Right.
there's more promised out than what we as a board realize, because in my mind, I'm thinking of what we've done in the past year
If
and a half.
Milligan split his lot into 3,
I don't think he can.
You can only have
If,
one.
depending on what we take action on, right now, I think he would have one.
Well, there's
one-
places like my office where I'm not on sewer. I mean, so there's other, yeah,
You pay a bill.
I do. And I don't get trash pickup either.
Do what?
I think you're a business. I don't know if they promise businesses.
I
Get out on the sewer.
That's a $10,000 fine.
You may be forced.
Hey, you might want to. It was.
Oh,
It was.
Hey,
I was talking about her.
Jason, I got it. You can buy her sewer connection.
Phil would be buying it.
Selling your
Phil would be
extra ones.
buying it.
I like it.
Yeah. So if there's all these lots we've already promised, and I think we have. I don't think we can go back on anything we've already approved on the preliminary.
Have we approved his?
We just did, yes.
Okay, so he's good.
He's good. Ryan's good. Yeah. So, but moving forward, I'm thinking about just what we've approved in the past year and a half. I don't know, Mark, you may know, I don't know how many raw pieces of property there are in the city. I mean, off the top of my head, there's gotta be 50 or more. You probably,
At least.
I mean,
would
there's
feel-
probably 50 vacant parcels that in my mind, I'm not even counting those.
I would feel irresponsible saying that I'm comfortable with another subdivision beyond this point until I know that that line is in the ground and that they can push water up here as much as we need it. That's where I'm sitting. And like I say, once that line is in the ground, I'm very comfortable with water again. We still have the sewer issue to deal with over time, but I'm not comfortable at all recommending that we can promise more water right now to any other property other than what we've already got on record.
Can we make a recommendation to the Bowman to go back to see about what's next as far as what we're talking about, a waiting list, you know?
I think that would need to be part of it.
I mean, I don't think that's our decision. I think that's their decision on how we treat new developments coming in.
Well, and then they limit that, because anybody that owns raw property can come up and get in line. I want 5 reserved for me, 10 reserved for me. I mean, I think with a reservation, you would have to have at least an idea plat of some kind. If you were trying to, you know, if you were wanting to buy property, I don't, you know, because I could just come up behind you and say, reserve me for 30, you know,
Right.
without saying where they're at. I think there would need to be
I think you
some,
need to stake the land.
yeah,
I mean,
the land, what your intent is, and what you're wanting to
I
do
don't know,
with
do we want to make them have
it, a concept.
a concept?
Just
plan?
I think that would be smart, because without that, anybody with property can come up and say, I want to reserve 10 taps, put me on the list for 10 taps for my property.
So what's a person's investment cost in a concept plan? Like how much? is
Not
it?
much, not
Couple
much. It's
$1,000s?
Not even that,
Okay.
depending on who you hire, but it's a concept plan. A concept plan you can almost create from the tax map data, because it conceptually,
I don't even think you gotta have a
well,
surveyor. I
well,
mean, you can-
conceptually, whether it's 100 foot or 110 foot, your concept is still going to be the same. You may lose a lot or gain a lot depending on what the real survey measurements are, but I don't think we have to have anything necessarily prepared by surveyor, but it does need to have enough data to where we know that it complies with what that property is capable of. You know, if it's
I just sort of think that if there is someone who owns a lot, whether it's occupied or not, that should sort of be reserved.
yes,
Yeah, that's
pre-existing,
what I said.
but when
Yeah.
they're going to split it,
But I'm, you know, and when I look back and it's.
For one
it's
water
never
and one
gonna
sewer
be, it's
connection.
the 40 behind our house. You know, I just kind of think it'd be
No,
nice to say that lot have
if
a
it's
sewer tap.
if it's a separate legal lot of record.
It
I
is a
think,
separate
yes.
legal lot.
If it's a separate,
So I
and-
think you need to count those up and see how many we've got.
and I think that's part of it. I
That
think any vacant piece of property, any unimproved vacant piece of property that's a tax map and parcel number needs to be counted and reserved as one water, one sewer.
Yeah, basically, all I'm saying is, my recommendation will be that we don't subdivide any more land. It
Okay.
don't have anything to do with providing taps to current lots of record.
Can we make a motion for this body to send that to the Bowman? And I'm reluctant to do this. but
I'm not voting for that.
Yeah, my suggestion, I mean, I don't know that the commission's got enough information at this point to make that. Now, the BOMA may have some additional facts before it when it, I mean, if the commission wants to express its opinion generally on it, but I don't know how much weight the BOMA would give it based on the facts that we have.
And do you want to make commercial property separate from
Yes.
residential? I mean, because you got like Hugo down there, and he's bought land. Hugo with Amigos. I mean, I'm not saying. I just know he owns the land.
But he's entitled to one water and one
But
sewer.
let's say he wants to build his restaurant and two more
I don't think
rental units.
you can.
Yeah, I think we're messing up if we.
But in all fairness,
Just
how
close the doors.
how would you say he's allowed to do that, but Jim owns the lot next door that's owned residential, and you're going to tell him no? So you're going to tell Hugo yes, that he can subdivide his property, and the landowner next door, you're going to tell no. I don't.
Well, I'm just saying, should we treat commercial property different than residential? Hey, this just got thrown up. I'm just talking off the top of my head.
You're talking about making, you're building residential units for rent.
No, he's
No,
talking
no.
about
I think
commercial.
I think a division of property should be treated as a division of property, whether it's B1, B2, B3, R1, R2,
Well,
R3.
he could still just build one building and
Yes.
have tenants.
So
and
I don't,
tap and
I personally
include it in
wouldn't
his
feel
rent.
comfortable, I wouldn't feel comfortable telling commercial guy, yes, you can subdivide yours. Ryan comes in the next day with a 3-lot division, and we tell Ryan, no, we don't want
So
the
but
residential.
you would
I
be
think we
I
had
would though, because as someone who is, as someone who's representing the city and how much it runs itself, you get more, I'm just being honest, you get more money out of commercial.
But how can you
So,
pick
yeah,
and
that's what
choose?
my point is.
Yeah.
You could have the lot between our office building and the Fast Pace
Yeah,
that Rex sells to a commercial developer, and they could subdivide that into, not subdivide, one building. but
well, if it's
have-
one builder, one tab, then I think
No,
you're okay.
because some of them have, like our office has sewer taps and water taps. We don't pay Farm Bureau's water.
So I think, my
See,
per-
and in that scenario, you could have one building with 3 or 4 different units.
I think as
And
long
we're gonna
as,
turn that down?
well, that wouldn't, that would
That
come to us on a site plan, but not a new division of property. So I think that we could theoretically approve that and not a subdivision, because they're coming to us for a site plan approval, not dividing the property. Now, if they came to 0 lot line, subdivide that into 5 0 lot line lots, then I think in that scenario, we couldn't, I don't think we could
I
pick
mean, I
and
would just
choose.
hate to turn down something built commercial
But I think,
on a technicality.
I think a commercial site plan that's gonna have 5 storefronts instead of 1 big storefront is the same. I think that the city could pick and choose on that basis, but if you had that commercial lot and you wanted to split it,
But you got something like Milligan who's got a big lot of road frontage, and you're saying
he
that
can't split it.
he couldn't split it.
Not if I have to tell Ryan no. I don't feel comfortable
But see,
picking and
that goes
choosing.
back to, I hate to turn down, two commercial, and I don't have anything under contract down there, so I'm just talking off the top of my head. I would hate to tell 2 commercial people saying, hey, I want to buy half of it, and you buy half of it, we're gonna build 2 different buildings.
I think
And it's
that's-
something commercial that benefits the city of Chapel Hill. Man, I would just
I think
hate to
that's
turn
one-
down, I mean,
I think they'd have to work together. I mean, it may not kill the deal, but it might. But I don't know that we could tell him yes, and Ryan come in with a 2-lot minor plat residential and tell him no.
So how long do we get to where we can figure something out?
Well, like I say,
months?
we're looking at an 18 to 24 month completion on that project. I mean, it's underway. So we're only looking at a year and a half to 2 years before we can start doing this again. Now, if we can do it legally, I have no issue with segregating commercial from residential, just from a practical standpoint of being able to provide water, because, commercial facilities that would go along that highway are not gonna be heavy
Right,
water
usage.
users. I mean, you're not gonna hurt your system by.
It's not like you're gonna have another car wash lately. I mean,
Well,
You may get more clarification from the county through the process that, it'll be fine for that,
As far as the county.
sooner than 18 months, you may get more clarification that you could move, change it.
House?
Yeah, well, and I agree with that. If we say no now, and we get new data in 6 months, let's say they finish the small project on Verona County Road, and we think we have some capacity, I'm not saying we shut it down indefinitely, I'm just saying with the knowledge we have today, I don't know that we can move forward without having more data on the system.
And I would also be okay if there were a way to allow people to go through a process that they're gonna have to go through that'll take 6, 8, 12 months, depending on what they're trying to do. With, just knowing that at the end of it, that we can't make it official until that line is in the ground and
But see,
operation.
nobody's gonna wanna spend the money. I wouldn't. I wouldn't jump in and build
I'm
roads.
just saying, I'm not.
I wouldn't build roads and pour sidewalks and lay sewer lines.
I wouldn't either.
Well, I have a question on
Yes.
this. So, do you remember the number of square footage it takes to pay for 2 children to go to school on taxes in Marshall County?
On a house, probably 6,000 square foot. If I had to guess, you'd have to have a residential dwelling paying $4,000 in property taxes per year to educate 2 children. If I had to guess, it's not a 1,200 square foot house is not going to do it.
I wasn't referring to an infrastructure process. I was referring to the process that they have to have in this room with us for
I got you.
6 or 8 or 12 months. Because if somebody wanted to do a major commercial project and had an idea today,
They're not,
it'd be 6 or 8 months.
but they're not going to buy the property without knowing. I mean,
True. but all I'm saying is.
But we
I don't-
can't promise them anything.
We can't.
I agree with
water
that.
out
No,
there.
I agree with you, but I think this conversation, it needs to be stressed to the BOMA from this board that this is a conversation that the mayor and aldermen need to have, because what I've learned over the past 2 weeks is more concerning than what I thought it was.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that you recommend that we send a recommendation to the BOMA.
To have this discussion.
Have a discussion.
And
You pick out 2 people or 3 people on the board here to come up here and speak. I don't want 15, 20 in here to be arguing back and forth.
I don't mind to come.
Whoever wants to come, I don't care.
Can we get someone from the water authority?
The county,
Yeah.
they're gonna, I don't know.
County's not
I don't
gonna do
know.
anything if they find out about the water line. I guarantee you that.
Even to come and talk about the issue?
I think they would come and say there's no data at this time to tell you anything.
Okay, and I would agree with you, that's probably what.
So with that being said, I don't mind to come and, on behalf of the planning commission, and
Whoever wants to come, I don't care.
express our concerns. And the other side of this is,
When's the meeting?
the other side of this, if a plat came in next month for us on approval, I think that we, knowing what we know today, would have the right to deny the plat temporarily until we have more data, until we know what is the sewer plant capable of doing. I'm making an assumption here, and I know we're close. There may be 20 sewer taps available beyond what we've already got promised out. There may be 30 water taps, but we don't know that. And until we know that, until we know those numbers, I wouldn't feel comfortable approving any plat of any kind, whether it's 2 lots or 20 lots. So if somebody came in for a plat, you may just tell them that at this time, it would probably, my opinion, my vote, without any new data, would be to not approve a division of property at all until we have more facts.
So
So
do you have
even,
legal standing to do that? I mean, this is a first for me in 18 years of this.
I don't know.
How does it work? Without an
If
official
some-
moratorium from the BOMA?
Well, no, that's what we're gonna do. The BOMA's gonna have to take action on it, and it is essentially a moratorium on subdivisions. It's not
On
a-
new divisions of property, not pre-existing lots of record. And not
Yeah,
anything
but
we've already
again,
promised.
BOMA has to do it based upon whatever information we can get from the county regarding the status of the water.
So we're going to ask that be placed on the agenda for the next BOMA meeting, which is the second Monday of May. And we invite you from the
But I like
board.
Mark's idea. I like Mark's idea of
Did you say the 13th?
putting something in there about commercial versus residential.
I'm saying that I don't mind it, I just know that I'm not comfortable saying that we can provide water to more lots than we already have on record. That's my stance on this. If we can legally segregate, business from, residential so that we don't miss, a good business of some kind coming in, I'm all for it. But if we can't, I'll fall back on, I would feel irresponsible saying that I could promise water to someone right now.
When is that meeting?
Second Monday in May.
May 13th.
6 o'clock.
And the water board meets at 5. So they will discuss. Any other business? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion? Do I have a second?
Sure, I'll say that.
All in favor, rise.
Can I keep one of these?
I just joined your
I bet you sent my
Hey, if you do, keep that property. When you come back, you don't have to come back. Mark will sign off on it, but make sure you sign it.